Greetings, my name is Dr. Leonel Mera, and as requested, I'm going to be giving you small demo presentation on the countercurrent multiplier system. Hope you enjoy it. Let me share my screen. So the countercurrent multiplier system is a very important physiological system our kidneys have to help us either save water whenever we are dehydrated or to excrete the excess of water whenever the body is hyperhydrated. I'm going to go ahead and skip because of time issues the first slides of the PowerPoint. Just a little review on kidney anatomy. This is the nephron, which is the functional unit of the kidney, which starts with the glomerulus, which is a very particular type of capillary bed. The glomerulus is inside of Bowman's capsule or the glomerular capsule, and this is followed by the proximal convoluted tubule. The proximal convoluted tubule then is gonna drain all the filtrate into the loop of Henle. The loop of Henle has two parts. It has a descending limb, makes a U-turn, and then it has an ascending limb. The ascending limb is going to have a thin segment and a thick segment. This is followed by the distal convoluted tubule, which is going to drain into the collecting ducts. Now, nephrons come in two different types. You have the cortical nephrons, which are the very short ones with a very short loop of Henle, or you have the juxtamedullary nephrons, which account for about 25% of the 1 million nephrons we have on each kidney. Today's focus is going to be on the juxtamedullary nephrons and their importance on this super important system of the countercurrent multiplier. Now, and they're called juxtamedullary because they have a very long loop of Henle that is going to extend all the way down from the cortex of the kidney all the way down to the inner zone of the medulla. That's my dog. Now, the idea behind this whole business is that if an individual drinks water, let's say a liter of water, within 15 minutes, the individual is going to start making an excess amount of urine. So you see here that the person took the water here at 0 time, and the osmolarity of the urine immediately started to drop, meaning the concentration of the urine. So you're going to have very diluted urine. And the rate of urine is going to increase. The urinary flow is going to increase because now we have an excess of water to get rid of. Now, the countercurrent multiplier is going to involve pretty much the whole nephron, but it's going to involve especially the juxtamedullary loop of Henle and the juxtamedullary nephron at the loop of Henle, the distal convoluted tubule, and the collecting duct. This is the histology of the descending limb of the loop of Henle, where you see that we have flat squamous cells versus the thick ascending limb, where we're going to have cuboidal cells. Now, the idea and the most important physiological difference between these two portions is that the descending limb is specialized on reabsorbing water, nothing else, just water, while the ascending limb is specialized on actively reabsorbing ions such as sodium, chloride, potassium, calcium, etc. And super importantly, no reabsorption of water at all. There's no passage of water through the thick ascending limb. Now, what is the important function of the countercurrent multiplier, and what sets the difference between dilute urine versus very concentrated urine? If the body has an excess of water, the person is hydrated, is not thirsty, the hypothalamus is not going to produce antidiuretic hormone or vasopressin, ADH. In the absence of ADH, this, which acts at the level of the distal part of the distal convoluted tubule and the collecting duct, without ADH, there's not going to be water reabsorption, only ion reabsorption. So the urine is going to leave very diluted, the loop of Henle, is gonna get into the convoluted tubule, this convoluted tubule, and it's gonna get even more diluted. And by the time it gets to the collecting duct, it's gonna be even more diluted. Now we're talking about a person who drinks a lot of water, like myself. I drink a lot of water, so my urine is always diluted. Now, if you, on the other hand, have an individual who hasn't had any water, either because the person doesn't drink water, doesn't have access to water, then the opposite is going to happen. You're going to have the thirst reflex, and the posterior pituitary, the neurohypophysis, is going to release antidiuretic hormone. So when somebody's thirsty, when somebody's dehydrated, there's going to be high levels of antidiuretic hormone. The antidiuretic hormone is going to come to the distal convoluted tubule and the proximal convoluted tubule, and they're going to open water channels in order for us to reabsorb water. At this point, the difference is going to be that 50 milliosmoles per liter versus 1200 milliosmoles per liter. That's how big of a difference in thickness we're going to see in the urine. Now, how does this happen? This takes a few different steps. So we're going to take this from the beginning. If we start with a loop of Henle that is completely new to receiving filtrate, we're going to see that the filtrate coming from the proximal convoluted tubule has a osmolarity of about 300 milliosmoles per liter. So let's say that we send down the 300, and then the 300 is going to go back up. Now, what happens? You're going to see that you have 300 here and 300 in the interstitium. But that's not going to work, because in order for the multiplier to work, the countercurrent multiplier to work, we need to increase the osmolarity of the interstitium. How are we going to do that? The thick ascending limb of the loop of Henle is going to have active channels that are constantly going to be pumping sodium and chloride into from the thick ascending limb into the interstitium. And interestingly enough, this is always going to be done at a difference of 200 milliosmoles per liter, meaning there's going to be a gradient of 200 between the interstitium and the thick loop of Henle. Well, guess what? This is at 300, but then because of osmosis, this 300 has to equalize with the 400. So we have to send water from here to here, and you see that the 400, they equalize themselves. I still have my 200. Then this 400 milliosmole urine is going to move over, pushing the old urine out of the way. And now we're going to have the 400 here, 400 here, 400 here. That's not going to work. So we're going to send from the 400, we're going to create our 200 milliosmoles per liter gradient. So we see here that now we're down to 300 here, 500 here. Again, it's not going to work with the water because the water has to equalize on each side of the membrane the osmolarity. So by osmosis, I have to keep sending water to the interstitium. This process is going to repeat, again, based on how much water the body of that individual has or how much water the person doesn't have, to the point that the interstitium is going to increase all the way to 1200. And now, this is what we call the corticomedullary gradient, because as you can see, the gradient is going to increase from the cortex downward towards the medulla. And you see, the deeper you go in the medulla, the higher the concentration of solute. Now, very important note here that we got to remember when we're looking at the anatomy of these parts of the nephron, that every single part of the tubule is followed by the vasa recta, by these little capillary beds that they're going to be important in the business of reabsorption and secretion. So the water that is excreted here in order to equalize these areas is going to be reabsorbed immediately into the vasa recta, and it's going to be reabsorbed into the circulation. Now, this is a little diagram of how the collecting duct works. Now, the collecting duct is the last part of the nephron. And under normal circumstances, meaning very high levels of fluid in the body, this is not going to really absorb water. It's only going to help make the urine more solute, or I'm sorry, in that case, more diluted. But when there's dehydration, the antidiuretic hormone, the vasopressin, is going to act here, and it's going to act here, and it's going to increase both the reabsorption of solutes, plus it's going to reabsorb water. Without ADH, pretty much all this portion of the nephron is impermeable to water. So we need the ADH. Now, another important factor that is going to help in the business of creating the hyperosmolarity we need here in the interstitium is the urea. Now, urea is a waste product that usually is excreted at a very high rate in the urine. Now, in cases of dehydration and in the presence of ADH, urea is going to be reabsorbed from the collecting duct into the interstitium, and it's going to start recirculating, and it's going to go back into the loop of Henle, and it's going to start recirculating at the same time, making this area, this interstitium, a lot more hyperosmolar, because it is super important that we need the hyperosmolarity in order for this whole system to work. Now, the last step in this whole business is the vasa recta, meaning the capillary bed that is surrounding the tubules. We're going to have that at the beginning of the vasa recta, when it's in parallel with the proximal convoluted tubule, you are going to have an osmolarity very close to the blood, which is 300. As it goes down, we lose water, but we gain solute. Then you make a U-turn, just like the loop of Henle, and we're going to release solute, because again, we need to keep the high osmolarity lower in the medulla, and then we're going to reabsorb water, because again, we need to keep this hyperosmolarity in this area. So that's pretty much the countercurrent multiplier. This is what we call the countercurrent exchanger, which helps in the whole system of the countercurrent multiplier. It's called the countercurrent because you're going to have urine, or let's say filtrate, going downward, but then filtrate going upward. And the multiplier, because we're multiplying the osmolarity with each passing of the filtrate. This last slide shows you the difference in osmolarity at different parts of the nephron in the presence or the absence of vasopressin or ADH. And that brings our presentation to our end. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you very much. Hope to hear from you, and I'll see you on Wednesday. Thank you very much. Have a good day.